Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be looking at South Node in the sign of Virgo. So I did make a video about North Node in the sign of Pisces. And I promised in that video that I would be describing the Virgo archetype for you as well, so that you have got a better understanding. I did not want to do the two together because I think that video was about 45 minutes long anyway. I wanted to give you as much detail as possible. So today we are going to be exploring the Virgo archetype and a little bit more about the South Node. First of all, the astrology. Oh, before we do that, I also would like to mention that my PayPal is back. So if you would like to book your reading, go ahead and do that. Yeah, it's good news, right? So I'm looking forward to be connecting with you. And let me just grab the opportunity to talk about that I will be having a synastry course coming up and the sexology course very shortly. So you might want to be catching your place before the prices will be going up. But let's get going with this Virgo South Node. So first of all, in astrology, we have the lunar nodes, which are pretty much the points in the moon's orbit when the moon crosses the ecliptic. And we have got two of them. And they are always in opposition to each other. So one is the North Node, which is a little bit more to do with our potentials and purpose. And the North Node can be kind of like seen in your chart as the midheaven. We need to grow that area of life. And then we've got the South Node, which often is told or said to be kind of like a baggage, a past life experience, something that you feel comfortable with. We can also call it as the comfort zone in your chart. One thing that I do not tend to agree with is the fact that you need to be walking away from your South Node. I think that's a full of crap. Because if something we know and we are good at, why would we walk away from it? And the two lunar nodes come hand in hand. So we just need to be able to balance them out rather than walking away from something. Yes, sometimes the south node is going to be a little bit more stressful for you, or stressful in a way because once you are trying something new and there's the north node and then it upsets you, then you fall back into the south node position of your chart because that's kind of like yeah, as I said, it's a comfortability kind of point in your chart. So a couple of technical things you might want to remember, that if you have got any planet in the sign of Virgo, and of course, we're gonna be having um, the South Node passing through. I do not think that you need to be walking away from those planets. It just means that you're gonna have to be able to balance them out, not always just focusing on them, and kind of remember that. Now, this is a little bit of a technical piece. Now, let's have a look at what is going to be happening, or what is actually the Virgo archetype, so that um, we can understand it better, uh, which we might have over focused in the past. And then now we need to be able to balance that out with the Piscean part. This video is only going to be working for you if you do listen to the Pisces video as well, by the way. So, Virgo, we have got a Earth sign here, and the Earth represents material world. So we might have been approaching everything from a data point of view, for example. We might have been approaching things from a physical point of view. And of course, what we said in the Pisces video, that we need to be able to focus now a little bit more on the spiritual side of things as well, on the emotional well-being. Virgo is a mutable sign, so mutability on one hand represents knowledge. So it's going to be very important that we have got all the knowledge that we need now about the physical world. So we need to be able to build knowledge on a spiritual plane as well. And Virgo is pretty much the end of the summer. It's part of the Earth triangle, which is Taurus, Virgo, and the Capricorn. So all earth signs are somehow about assimilation and acceptance. Now we've got the self-worth that we were meant to be building in the sign of Taurus. And in Virgo, we pretty much need to be able to sort things out. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. Now it rules two signs. One of them is Gemini, and the other one is, of course, Virgo. And Mercury is the night ruler of Virgo. So Mercury combines things, looks for connections in daytime in the sign of Gemini. At night, it is looking for inner connections. And that is highly important. So therefore, think about Virgo as your inner thoughts, your inner thoughts, which sometimes is quite negative, right? And that's the reason why we need to be able to maybe not necessarily walk away from it, but not to fall back on it all the time. Virgo comes with an observation skills, analyzes a lot. It's the sign of discrimination. It wants to take things apart and then puts them back together. We take them apart because we want to understand how they function. And yes, there is an element of a frustration could be coming with that because I'm trying to put them back together and maybe it's not functioning as well as it was before. So even precision comes with um, Virgo. So this is a detail-orientated sign. Now, each sign, I would say there are three levels to them. The very lowest manifestation of Virgo is slavery. Now, I have spoken about slavery before in courses and webinars. I don't want to be kind of like talking about that. But remember, when I mentioned the word slavery, it's not the slavery that happened, I don't know, 200 or 300 years ago and before that, but being slave to our certain habits, being slave to our thoughts, and so forth. And therefore, it's kind of like the realization also that every single of us has become somehow a slave. For example, I am a part of a machine at work, right? And then, it's kind of like a little bit of a conveyor belt archetype. And I'm an important piece of that. And maybe I need to be able to see that also. The second archetype of Virgo is the artisan, and the third one is the scientist. So what we do in Virgo that we need to be able to learn and then organize the knowledge, a little bit compartmentalizing that. And it's kind of like the scientists that utilize their knowledge, right? But the scientists that see the spiritual side of the material world as well. And that's the learning of it. So Virgo comes from Leo. So it is followed, Virgo follows Leo, right? So in Leo, we learn to shine. And then now we again collect and then put them into safety. Earth signs are about safety. It's the safety of the knowledge. So it really feels to me that what we need to be able to kind of do in the next 18 months is that not necessarily kind of like getting so confused with all knowledge and information and gossips and rumors and so forth, what is presented to us. Yes, we're going to have to be analyzing them, but also we're going to have to listen to our intuition too. And because it's an earth sign, Virgo always wants to have money. But it wants to be making money out of all the information. And maybe what we have overdone now in the past is that we want to charge for everything. So, as I said in Gemini, we collect the information and then we share that with others. Here in the sign of Virgo, we collect them and internalize them. And then somehow we make them useful and even available to others. In the sign of Leo, we were wasting our material kind of background. And in the sign of Virgo, we will have to notice that we should not anymore. Again, it's a sign of safety, right? So we need to be able to kind of think about what I'm going to be doing with that money. So again, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be stingy or stuff like that. We just need to be again able to be balancing out the greed here and how much money I put into safety. Also, this could feel like to me because, of course, Virgo is the sign of health. So there is a lot of worry coming with Virgo. What am I worried about? And maybe that's something that is holding us back from moving on because we might be in our comfort zone. And yes, Virgo is a mutable sign, but safety comes for them first. Now, let me just also mention that I'm describing the Virgo archetype and I'm not describing, I don't know, Virgo sun or Virgo rising sign and so forth. So please remember that. Also, Virgo comes from the word virgin. And virgin meant two things in ancient times. Once, the sexually inexperienced person, and also, it represented the independent woman who does things on their own terms. And Virgo is a dual sign. So, this is kind of like you can be looking at it as the victim, or you can be looking at it as kind of like the innocent type of archetype, also. Um, there are And also, I mean, to be sexually inexperienced, for example, it comes with a lack of confidence. Or we've got the independent woman who does things on their own terms, right? So it comes with an element of confidence. So the duality also shows here that we have got the tendency to kind of to do both of them. Also, every single mutable sign is all about a seasonal change. So therefore, it talks to us about the changes on the horizon. So what would you like to change about yourself? Because often what happens with Virgo that it adapts to situation rather than rather than kind of like focusing on creating something new. So this is the reason why we are meant to be having a look at what our desires are and what we would be creating. I mean, often Virgo is actually represented with a shaft of wheat, and the wheat is actually the representation of harvest, obviously the busiest time of the year. So Virgo is one of the busiest signs. And Mercury, for example, the ruler represents the hand. Obviously, we create something with our hands. We something that can be held. And also the fact that Virgo is all about knowing how things work, that is kind of like showing the process there too. Oh, there's a lot of things I can talk to you about Virgo. Virgo is an extremely interesting sign. And even someone asked me if I wanted to put together a course about the signs, and I did one already. It was 12 week. Each of the classes are approximately about 2 hours long. But a little bit about the mythology of Virgo. There are many stories, but one of the myth that is the most dominating one, I guess, is on Australia or Demeter or Proserpina, and even the Egyptian goddess Isis. But one of the exciting one is the Australia one, which was very much about leaving Earth due to the fact that people have become greedy. Even though she has given everything to them, and then she left the golden age, and that was the end of the golden age basically when she left. And she couldn't actually stand the fact that she gives all the tools that you need, and then you still want more. And it really feels like with the Virgo Pisces axis, sometimes less is more. And that is going to be a message here. I mean, Virgo is associated with purity and innocence. And as I said, Australia, which astrological number is, by the way, number 5, if you want to be checking where she is in your natal chart. But she lived among the humans, and then we became wicked. And then she moved back among the gods. And that was the end of paradise. it really feels like to me that the message also with these nodal axes is that if you want the golden age, the paradise to somehow come back to you, then you're going to have to be acting on that. One of the issues that Australia had that we were eating animals and we were fighting with swords and all these type of things. And Virgo, on one hand, represents our lifestyle choices. So we have made decisions how we want to live our life. And maybe this is not working for us anymore. And then maybe, yeah, we have got that victim mindset, and then we tend to be suffering from illnesses and earthly troubles and so forth. And that North Node in Pisces tells us that we need to be reuniting with that paradise somehow. But not too much. I mean, there are other stories as well I could be talking to you about, but let's not do that today. So Virgo can be recognized by how driven they are by details, how organized they are, how practical they are. They usually are pretty helpful. They even can show you kind of like practical tricks and tips how to remain organized. On YouTube channel, for example, I like when they do this DIY type of little videos and then how to reuse something. That's a Virgo character. But they can be critical, they are perfectionists, they can be very efficient, they want to make order in chaos. And also, this might be something that we need to be aware of, that we cannot create perfection. We cannot make an order in chaos. Remember that these are transit nodes. So this is talking a lot about how the world is going to be functioning rather than just on a personal level. We would need to be able to see your personal chart on that. Um, Also, often you will see that Virgo doesn't want to do anything wrong, so they'd rather not do anything because they don't want to cause any type of harm, for example. Now, some of the situations, for example, when it comes to Virgo, imagine when you are at a conference, that's a Virgo energy. When you are collecting stamps, or when you clean, when you fix things, when you do DIY, when you prepare paragraphs or graphs, pie charts, and so forth, or when you are solving a puzzle, a crossword, when you walk in nature, when you go on a diet, when you're dealing with stressful situation, or when you are sanitizing things, when you are measuring things up, when you are planning, when you do even detoxification, that's kind of a Virgo type of energy as well. Or when you remove weed in the garden. With Virgo, of course, each sign has got their positive and negative characteristics. So I've given you probably a bunch of positives and quite a few negative ones as well. Further positive characteristics are that they are hygienic, self-disciplined, humble, usually. They tend to be looking after their hands. uh, they are usually quite knowledgeable as well, or they are quite observant. And some of the negative ones, they could be demanding, hypochondriacal, nervous, worrying a lot, often controlling also, sometimes too rational. They believe in fads. And, it has become a very big topic nowadays. These myth busting type of little TikTok videos and so forth. And, I have also mentioned this a few times, but I'm amazed how much crap people feed in us. You know, what was the recent one I actually saw? I think it was actually today that blueberries are actually really bad for your brain because it lowers your IQ and so forth. So you should not be eating blueberries. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So it means that you cannot even take a breath anymore. But also, maybe we have focused a lot, for example, on going to the gym. And don't get me wrong, there is nothing wrong with it. But people who want to lose weight, it's not all about how many times they go to the gym. You can be only going to the gym 2, 3 times a week, and that's all good. This is more about what you eat, for example. So the spiritual dynamics of Virgo is about understanding how the world work works. They analyze the world as well as people around them. They want to control the outcome of things, and they tend to take things apart into small bits. And they want to also understand the dynamics of a male and the female person, how we function. Um, so this is the last sign of the second quadrant. The second quadrant started with Cancer, which is all about emotions. Emotions you cannot necessarily switch off, right? In Leo, it was all about self-expression and we wanted to shine. And then obviously these two signs were all about sun and moon. And it looks like now in the sign of Virgo, we have to find balance between the mother and the father dynamics, for example, in the sign of Virgo, right? Because Mercury here also, it's always about understanding something. So with Virgo, we want to understand how the genders work. So then gender related topics are going to be quite big one coming up, most likely. Psychologically speaking, Virgo is the Madonna horse syndrome, which means a couple of things depending on a male or a female we talk about. But this is about the inability to maintain sexual arousal in committed relationships. Typically, it is seen in men's chart who see women as a saint or a prostitute. And these men want a degraded woman often. They want to have them. Often they think they cannot have the woman they desire. Um, so Virgo, can be very afraid of new things, irrational things, or being afraid of losses, or what others are thinking of me, or they can be even afraid of a leadership position, for example. And standing out of the crowd, sometimes a discomfort for them too. Some of the scripts that would describe Virgo is is the Don Quixote syndrome. So just think about what Don Quixote was about. We are trying to fight against something that is bigger than us. And maybe that North Node in the sign of Pisces is also talking to us about that sometimes fighting against something is pointless. I'm not talking about having to give up, but maybe we need to be focusing a little bit on the personal level, not only on the collective, such as, politics and all these type of things. We might not be able to. And, the Don Quixote was about an insane belief that, he will be able to reform a woman who was a prostitute. And, but also we can call it as the Cinderella syndrome. You might hear that often from Virgos that I have told you 1,000 times that, or I cannot make any type of mistakes. So these are some of the you know, key facts you might want to remember with Virgo, and not just kind of like the general stuff that you read about it. Virgo can be learning from Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, as well as Leo and Libra. So from Pisces, they need to be able to accept spiritual concept. Nothing is black and white in the world. We need to be able to get in touch with a little bit deeper emotions. We need to be trusting life, and we do not need to control everything. From Sagittarius, we learn that we have a higher mind. We need to be a bit more spontaneous, and we do not need everything to be planned. And with Gemini, we learn flexibility, not to worry all the time. From Leo, we learn to lead, to shine, to have fun, to loosen up a little bit. And from Libra, we learn to balance things out, to enjoy life, and even sometimes to be flirty. So I think I mentioned briefly what you now need to know about Virgo. So from a prediction point of view, um, because obviously it's going to be affecting us on a mundane level. Maybe this is telling us that we don't always have to take a pill if we have got anything going on with us. Maybe we just need to be allowing the body, for example, to do the fight. That could be one of the predictions that we might want to be able to, or we need to be able to actually kind of accept. Also, this could talk to you about work and life balance. So, how many hours we work and how many hours we are at home and resting, because Pisces is the sign of rest, and Virgo is pretty much all about working extremely hard. So, maybe we all need to be able to somehow find something that is going to be allowing you to bit more like a pension system, a bonus system, and of course, work and life balance as well. Because one thing that definitely Virgo needs to learn is to enjoy life. And sometimes it's a big challenge for them because they are always preoccupied. Their diary is usually really, really full. So you need to make space in your diary for things that you love and you desire. These are, I think, the two most important things that in the next 18 months we need to be able to work with. Yes, you know what? You need to keep in mind that you are doing your best. You need to keep the big picture in mind. But also this represents service industry as well. And interesting because before I started making this video, I saw a kind of like a little bit of a talk about the tip culture that is happening at the moment. And this has popped up for me a few times already this week. So it's interesting that it has popped up because what you see nowadays is that people do get annoyed in the service industry when they do not get a tip. And sometimes, when they actually make you kind of like they put the tip in the bill. And don't get me wrong, I think it's great, but what this lady particularly said, and I completely agreed with that. If the tip is for the waiter or the waitress, who is you kind of tipping how nicely they served you and so forth. So why you have to be paying, I don't know, 20% or 12% or something like that of the bill? Because that waiter is not going to be doing anything different if you order a ribeye or I don't know, a Gordon Ramsay prepared type of food. So it's a little bit of an interesting one. And this could even indicate how as I said, health industry or this tipping culture is going to be changing, or overall the service industries. Yeah, I think maybe we're going to be seeing a lot of changes in connection to how many hours people need to be working. I mean, currently, I don't know every single country on top of my head, but I know that, for example, in the UK, I think you cannot work more than 48 hours in average in a 17-week period. Or that was the case. about 5 years ago when I was working as a HR assistant. Maybe it has changed since, I'm not too sure, but anyway, it doesn't necessarily matter. So, and let's be frank, 48 hours is quite a lot. And we do know that if people are working, for example, in restaurants and so forth, often this is a lot more. My mother works in catering, and actually well, it's a seasonal work really. So where she lives, there is only work in summer, pretty much from about April till September, and then nothing. But she works from 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. So obviously she gets home at, I don't know, 2, have a shower, and then having to get up at 6 a.m. So that's not life, and there is no day. So obviously, how much the body is getting burdened from all these, work that we take on. Also, maybe you need to be able to help others, maybe by using your own talents. Maybe you have made a difference in people's life quite a lot, and there is now a need to focus on your spiritual growth. And maybe you have been really harsh on yourself, and that's something you might want to be walking away from. And you need to be able to take pauses and engage in activities that you would like to enjoy. So that's why you need to be making space in your calendar. So, guys, this is a brief analysis on South Node in the sign of Virgo. Have a great one and see you in my next video. And I think that's going to be and Neptune and North Node conjunction. Have a great one. Bye bye.